Welcome to Unpacked, real conversations for diplomatic partners who are ready to unpack more than just boxes. This is the space for the brave questions, the messy middles, and the quiet decision to stop shrinking and start showing up fully. We talk identity, purpose, transitions, and what it really takes to feel at home in a life that's always moving. Because you've always been more than just the label, and this is where we say it out loud. Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm with my co-host Anna.
Hello and welcome back to Unpacked. I'm with Anna, and today we're going to talk all about summer transitions. But first, before we get started on our topic, Anna, can you tell us what you've been up to for the last couple of weeks?
Oh, that's a big question. Hi, everyone, by the way, and so lovely to see you again, Emma. The last 2 weeks have been pretty busy. Busy organizing my first global coffee gathering. That's happening this afternoon.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. That was very exciting. Still work in progress. What else? Sorting out the summer, actually. And that's another long story. But tell me first, how are you? How have the last 2 weeks been for you?
Oh, very, very busy. I'm in my last super busy period of work. I know obviously we talked about last time that I'm a teacher, but I also still do a bit of tutoring and I mark GCSE papers. So I'm in the middle of marking 23,000 GCSE questions at the moment. And I wonder how I've ever fit anything else in, but somehow I am. So basically, I've been chained to my laptop, but taking a deep breath. We have less than 1 week, and then I'm really getting into my summer mode. So I'm very excited to talk about summer transitions with you today, Anna.
Yes, exactly. Just before we dive in, you're a superwoman, and that's why you said, yes, I can do that. No worries. 23,000 favors.
Yeah.
Not a biggie.
No, just got to go for it. But yeah.
So what are your summer plans?
So actually, I'm going on honeymoon. So I'm very excited. So we are going to Mauritius for 10 days and then a couple of days in Dubai. And then we're heading back to Kenya. And then we'll have probably about a month here where we can just take in the last 6 months. I think it's been a very, very busy 6 months for me personally, professionally. We got married, everything. I think we've been on the go and non-stop. And then at the end of summer, we're going to go back to the UK to see some family and friends, which we're really looking forward to. How about yourself?
That's wonderful. Oh my God, so I'm so glad you can relax on a beautiful beach very soon.
Yes.
And as you say, exactly, just have a nice breather, a well-deserved one. Oh, what about me? That's such a tricky question because, as you guys know by now, I'm based in Lebanon, Beirut, and everyone is following the news. So I actually have a footage, a neighbor shoot the other day of missiles flying more or less above our building.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So and that's meant for us and still means we cannot plan our holidays. My
dear.
middle child, who is in a boarding school in Australia, was supposed to come here for her what season is it there? Well, winter. Sorry,
Yes.
winter holidays, and she's not allowed to come to Beirut right now. So we're looking at other options, but because situation is better in the region now, so really hopeful she'll be allowed to come. So we're still waiting. We're playing the waiting game, and I think it's a big part of being a diplomatic spouse, frankly.
Yeah, and that's really tough, Anna, because the uncertainty, I think, in our lives that we lead is over the big things and the small things and everything in between. So if we think about long-term instability of which country we're going to next, what house we're going to live in, but then we have this, like, I don't want to say smaller, in the data, but it's the day-to-day uncertainty, because very often we can live in unstable locations,
Yes.
and that can have real consequences on our own personal lives and our plans. So
It does, because so I'm in Lebanon, right? And if you look at Lebanon and just, even what you heard about this country in the last year or 1.5, probably everyone remembers Beirut blast and the war that happened here last year. So the Lebanese people have been living in uncertainty for many, many decades, if not centuries. So it's in their blood, in their DNA, and they're extremely resilient, the most resilient people I've ever met. But when you talk to anyone, I say, guys, you're so amazing, you're so resilient. They say, yes, but there is so much pain actually in their voices, because they say, if we feel like we don't have a choice, but we're so tired, we're so tired of it. And actually, I had this conversation this morning with someone, and that made me think that applies to us too. And I think it's pretty draining. We maybe don't realize it, but it does take something out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the repetitive cycle, I think, isn't it? That it's like, oh, we're here again.
Yeah.
It's what's next. I know what's coming. I know I should be prepared for it, but I'm just don't have the energy for it anymore. Um, that is exhausting time and time and time again. And
Yes.
there is a lot of work that shows actually in the research that if we can build our own resilience, then it is very useful for our longevity in this role as diplomatic spouses and partners. But at what cost?
Yes.
How do we keep building that resilience and having this positive outlook? And where is, and I like to think about this as what's my role and what's my choice in this? Do I want to keep doing this? Is this a life that I want? If it is a life that I want, and I can learn the tools and I can get my head into, building this. But if I do want the stability, how can I create it? Where is my choice and where is my empowerment within this situation?
Yes, absolutely. I love how you expressed it. What is my role and what is my choice? What do I do? But just on the topic of resilience, I know, yes, resilience is kind of has this. It's a great word, right? And we talk a lot about resilience, but I know it can be also a downside, because resilience also means you're expected to put up with everything.
Yes.
And I think that's what's happening in Lebanon, because they've been putting up and putting up and putting up, and things keep building, and they're still like, and that's why, yes, you're resilient, but you're exhausted, because whatever is happening, it's not right. And I think exactly that's our role and it's our choice, but we've already kind of touched upon it. I think there is also, we are part of a bigger system, and I think if the system is not quite catering for us right now, and that's why we're all facing very similar challenges. I think it's also important to think maybe, hey, maybe that could change too. Maybe a paradigm shift is very much needed there too, because yes, I can be resilient on a personal level. We can help others because we are coaches, we've been through it, we're going through it together. But
Yes.
I think the system also needs to change.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I actually did in some of my training that I've done in the past um, for missions and for partners, I've really talked about resilience and there's being two different elements. We have personal resilience, but then we also have systems and processes resilience. And unfortunately, we can't just rely on personal resilience. If I
No.
don't have an ability, and I also talk about the fact that resilience, a lot of the time, resilience is discussed as being able to bounce back. But I
Yeah.
don't ever think that that's good enough. I think it's all about learning how to bounce forward. So, yes, I have a setback, and that's I have to get back to where I was. But actually, resilience is all about how do I then move forward. And the moving forward bit for me, it comes from not only I think the personal resilience makes me to get back to my neutral position. And then the systems and the processes resilience gets me to move forward in my life.
Exactly, because if the system doesn't play along, that means you cannot really bounce forward, because in a way you're really forced to only bounce back
Yeah.
because there is no room. Like it's a tiny box, and that's why I think it can be so frustrating in someone. It doesn't matter how hard you try or how many times over and over you do that. Really, kind of, there is only that much. There'll be a ceiling, like this glass ceiling, you cannot jump higher or further than that.
Yeah. And why do you think that summer or Southern Hemisphere winter time is such a turbulent time for diplomatic partners?
The summer, well, I think summer, right? It's a busy time. It's fun time, right? It's finally family time for a lot of people because that's when most kids have school holidays, long holidays. You need to think, oh gosh, how I'm going to entertain them, and
Yes.
stay sane myself, and also, and that's a chance for many people to go back home, maybe, right? See family, friends, or travel. And I think that's just this kind of right. It's a transition from whatever you do on a your day-to-day basis to suddenly kind of doing something different. And again, you need to work out, right, from the logistics of your summer to planning it ahead, to all these hellos, goodbyes, and so on. And I think that's why sometimes I don't know whether this has ever happened to you. You go on holidays, you come back, and it's like, I think I need another holiday.
Yes, very often. And I think a part of that as well, because, like you say, very often we go back to our home countries or where our families are, but usually we don't have a home. So we're
Yeah.
usually living in someone else's house, living in someone else's routines, living out of a suitcase. You don't have your stuff, you don't have your, even though you absolutely love being there and you want to enjoy and just spend so much time with your family and your friends, you don't actually feel like you're at home,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't have that. Yeah, you're just not in your own space, your own routines. You're not in control of your time in the same way. So I think a lot of people forget that when you say, "Oh, I'm going home," you don't really have a really have a home.
No, that's true. And I think those who even have homes, they normally rent the apartments or houses out, so they cannot go back home.
Yes.
So, and yes, I think all of us do that. We just, stay with friends and or relatives or family. And yes, kind of this fine line. You don't want to overstay the welcome. And yeah, like this is. Yes, and I think that's why it can be also pretty exhausting to be on holidays.
Yeah, very, very exhausted. And also at this time of the year, and I guess this is partly because of school time ending and new school starting in September, is that lots of this is like a very good time for families to move posting or have cross postings, and that is purely based on logistics of having to move countries at the same time as hopefully trying to time that nicely with people like your children starting school. So in addition to having the travel at home, you may actually be homeless in the sense of you've left one country, you're having to go back to your
Hmm.
your home country, and then you're going to start a brand new country, and that can bring about a lot of nerves, excitement, anxiety. There is so much change, and especially, and you can maybe talk to us a little bit more about this, Anna, from a parent point of view, preparing your children to leaving a country and having to say goodbye to all of your friends, and then having to start a new country, new school, starting a whole new routine. I can only ever think about myself in this situation because I've only ever had to take into
Hmm.
account my own needs, and that in itself is a lot to process. But so when you're processing it for yourself and for your children, how is it? How do you do it all? Tell us.
Oh gosh, yes, what a question, Emma. So first of all, I don't know, maybe I was thinking as you were talking, maybe it varies. It depends on the ministry, right? But I was just thinking back. I think whenever we went on a posting, it was never actually right at the time so that my kids could start their new year in a new country. No, it was
Right.
all over the
Okay.
place. And as a result, what I had to do a few times, I had to either go ahead. Let me give you an example. When my husband was posted in South Africa and we knew we would go to Germany, after that, I actually left South Africa 6 months earlier than him
Oh
with the
my.
kids.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So they could start the school year in Germany so that we could get into certain routine, sort everything out, and he joined us when the posting finished. And the same happened actually on the way to South Africa. I stayed longer in Germany because I wanted the kids to finish the school year in July, and then we joined him in South Africa. And then as a result, my kids went to the second half of the year. So the problem is, bottom line, if you move between the hemispheres, it's not much fun because the school year doesn't align.
Yeah.
Down there, it's January, February. That's when the school year starts. And in the northern hemisphere, it's normally September.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how did you ever have like support from the ministry in terms of housing and to kind of cover that bridging period of time? Because I have heard some people talking about like that there is support for continuity of education, but I don't know whether that's ministry specific or
Probably.
yeah,
Probably.
probably. I think that's going to be our answer.
Let's hope that, yes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be our answer for everything. Yeah, probably
Yes.
it's ministry specific. Yes, okay.
Probably. Let's hope so, right? So
Yes.
someone somewhere does it. No, 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 no support. And that's why, yes, it's difficult. That's why whenever we moved between the hemispheres and the countries, we thought, okay, what's best for the kids? And I just know it's better, to start the school year together with all other kids, which would mean, okay, for me, there was a huge cost emotionally and personally to do this big move on my own and be this emotional container for the kids who were actually really grieving and really missing South Africa and really missing the kids, I mean, the friends.
Yeah.
So that was very challenging. Yes, saying goodbyes and transitions for kids. It's a huge, huge topic, and I think it really deserves
Probably
an
about five
episode on
five.
itself. Or
Yeah,
if
probably an
five,
entire
yes.
season.
Entire season.
Yes.
But I think it's very, very important what a lot of people don't realize. And I had time to work it out that whenever you move as a family, because the kids are the absolute priority for most people, right? Once you become a parent, you kind of prioritize them, and then obviously your spouse's career because he has this continuity. And for myself personally, I realized I was not prioritizing myself enough. So that whenever you move, or whenever I moved, let's put it this way, I first arrived as a mom, and then as a spouse, and then at some point down the road as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a probably very familiar pattern that we all have. What would you? Is there anything that you think that we should be doing differently then, or do you think it's only natural and kind of something that we need to accept, or would you modify this looking back on your experience?
Oh yes, yes, definitely. And I think this is really, I have again to admit, it's not only the problem exclusive to the diplomatic or expat partners or the globally mobile people who move around. No, it's a huge issue for a lot of women and a lot of moms.
Yes.
Because that's the upbringing, that's how, I don't know, we were raised to really look after everyone to the cost of our own well-being.
Yes.
At some point, a lot of us just become very burnt out and realize we cannot physically any longer pour from an empty cup. It just, at some point, it stops working. And that's why I think a lot of women, if you look around, get really sick, like physically, because it's not sustainable. And yes, definitely. I think what I learned the hard way, being selfish is the most selfless thing you can ever do.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not there for yourself, trust me, you cannot be there for anyone else.
Yeah, and I think even this is just even in the small things that you do in your everyday routine. So even when you're not navigating a transition, and it's funny, I'll just share something. It's the tiniest little snippet. I've obviously been super busy marking away, and what happens in our house is I usually have all the dinner cooked and prepped, and then my husband then comes home and he like boils the pasta, heats whatever I've made up, and then has everything ready for when I finish work. So we try and balance it out a little bit. But then normally what happens is I then do the washing up, he might do the drying up. But then the last week or so, I've just been so exhausted and so drained. and he's just gone, oh, I'll wash up. My instinct is to be like, oh no, that's my job. And to want to jump up and play my part and play my role, and actually I've had to really say to myself, no, Emma, this is it's just, things have changed right now. Accept the help. Appreciate the fact that he's doing it without being asked, which is lovely. Not that anyone should be asked. I love the Instagram things where it's like, your partner's your wife is your partner, not your mum. You know, I have to, but it is that constant reminder to yourself that no, I don't have to jump in and I don't have to fix or rescue every single situation that's happening.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's something that I struggle with. But I'm doing my best, and I'm coaching myself in my head every
That's
time
amazing.
when I feel this urge to be like, no, I'll do that, and to run and to rescue. So it's something that I think is definitely a gender role, and when you're in a partner role especially, you absorb a lot of the household load, and to take a step back when you need to is not only important. And I constantly say to myself, if we go back to the UK and I'm working full time, if I take everything on right now, that's just always going to be the status quo. Yes. Because it's just going to be, that's just how our roles have already been designated, even though I might have taken on more because I've had a bit more free time. So it's something that we have to constantly be aware of. What's fair? What do we want? How do we want to navigate this as a partnership in running the household?
So proud of you, Emma. First of all, a big applause for you, because you are right. You got recently married. You're aware of this urge to go and rescue and sort things out, and clean and wash and cook, and I don't know. And I think it's good that you're starting now, because trust me, when the kids come along, it gets only worse, like in terms that you'll have more people to rescue.
Yes.
And they will need you to come to their rescue when they're little. And I think, as I said, I really kind of learned it the hard way. And that's why I know what it is like to be on both sides of the scale. But right now, I'm very proud. I can say, well, you go and sort yourself out. You know where the kitchen is? Okay, my kids are a bit old, I can do that. But also can say, I'm not cooking tonight. There'll be a takeaway.
Yeah.
Fine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't feel bad about it.
No.
No.
In fact, you take the time to give yourself a nice pat on the back and say, well done, you did a great job. Yeah.
Exactly. I said no.
Yeah. Do you know,
it's learning to say no.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. I actually said no to something recently, and I genuinely messaged my best friend. I was like, I said no. And I was so happy that I said no, because it's definitely this like good girl culture, isn't it? That you always say yes, you always have to people please. And unfortunately that it gets everywhere in our lives. You know, we can't ever. Oh gosh. So yes. Do you know what? We really need a male spouse on this program, don't we? And let's find out how they manage household responsibilities and what they do to navigate gender roles and being a partner, because that would be a really interesting perspective.
I think we already discussed it a bit, right, Emma, that we would like to get guests on this podcast and hear other people's stories and their view, because I know being a trailing spouse and being a man, I think it's really, really tough. Because again, you know, the society expects something else from a man that still expects from a woman. And I think it's yes, it would be definitely very important to hear their perspective and their experience.
So if any male spouses are watching, give us a message. We'd love to get you on if you're willing to be. We'd love to hear about everything. We'll get all of the ladies to send in their questions, you know. That would be great. We'll make it sound not scary, I promise. We're very
I think
friendly.
we already intimidated any potential candidates.
Oh, I hope not. But anyway, we'll see. I'm gonna keep finding. I'm gonna find some male spouses and see if I can get anyone. Okay then. So in that terms of your the selfless need to be selfish. I hope I've said that correctly.
Yeah.
What do you do in terms of your rituals, your boundaries, your practices, especially over a summer season? What do you do to keep yourself feeling anchored and grounded in these times
Yes.
of transition?
So I love the word anchor, and I love that you just mentioned it. I think is it the fact that I'm in Lebanon, in the Middle East, and I've been here for 1.5 years. So I've been through a lot of uncertainty. When you literally don't know what's happening tonight, right? I'm talking it's 2 p.m. for me. If I don't know what's happening at 7, that's pretty rough. So how do you really stay sane throughout this and facing complete unplanability of things? Well, like you control what you can control, and the only thing I can control is anyway my response to things. And in order
Yes.
to not to react, but to respond from a place of calmness and confidence and trust, well, yes, you have to be anchored and grounded. And how I can tell you how I do that. I wake up in the morning and actually, before leaving my bed, I really try to go through my affirmations, through my feeling grateful for a new day, like waking up feeling positive, energized, and really joyous, like it's another day. And I'm blessed to wake up. Like how many people
Yes.
didn't this morning?
Yeah.
And then it depends, obviously, if there's school or not school, but I have a lot of time on my own where I do some journaling or some, like, I don't know, really, this is for me the grounding and feeling the way I want to feel. I want to feel at ease, I want to feel grateful, I want to feel joyous, like really feeling all these good, amazing feelings, having a cup of coffee. My kitchen windows face Beirut, and I can see the sea behind the
Oh,
buildings a
beautiful.
bit, and I love that. And then I go and work out. I lift weights every morning, and that's another anchor. And after this, I'm ready to face the day.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, I would try to also just really go into my room, sit in my favorite chair, and just, I don't know, maybe close my eyes and just anchor myself again. I'm like, all is well. Everything is working out. Even if today, when we started, told you I had a bit of a crazy morning. But really counting the blessings, I think it helps a lot. The messages I'm getting from people, the fact that I'm recording podcast with you, Amma, that's such a
Yes.
huge blessing and joy for me.
Yes.
So thank you.
No, it's so nice to actually spend this time to have the time to reflect as well, isn't it? And to know, just to know that we will be just reaching people who also need just a little bit of a reminder that they are amazing and that they're whatever they're feeling is okay to feel.
Yes.
Is so important. But I love the fact that you spend. I want to do my mornings with you, Anna.
Sure.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I just feel like that is something that I aspire to. Like I said to myself, I will meditate before I have my coffee, whatever. So sometimes I have my coffee at 3 p.m. because I haven't, and I keep saying this, I haven't had time. But my really good friend always says, it's not that you don't have time, you haven't prioritized your time. So if I've
Exactly.
chosen not to
Yes.
prioritize my meditation time, then my coffee waits. But recently getting into a bit more of a routine and rhythm of meditating, and I don't sometimes like to use the word meditate because
Yeah. Doesn't have to be
people feel as
um,
yeah,
right. No.
people feel like it's a really hard thing, or you have to sit
No.
there in silence, or there's a really great app, it's a free app, it's called Insight Timer, that they have loads of guided meditations.
I'm
So
using it
do
too.
you oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So a nice like 5 minute one, and to be honest, a 5 minute meditation never feels enough because I'm like, really, I've just lay down, give me a bit more. But if I can't, if I'm not doing my Insight Timer meditation, going out for a walk for me
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
is
Forgot that.
is massive, and I try to give
Massive.
myself
Yes.
like 2 or 3 moments in the day where I just go out And I can't tell you, and this sounds so, I don't know, woo-woo or hippie or I don't know, but I just love looking at trees. I've never known how beautiful trees are. Maybe these are the Kenyan trees and I'm just like taking it all in as new. Just to look and actually look at the leaf and the designs and the how the tree is. I know that sounds so crazy, but really just take it in and just be amazed by nature, because things like that just kind of bring me back out of my head, because we're so easy rushing.
Yes.
And if we choose to have exercise, which is so important, but if we're exercising, sometimes we're so lost in the exercise that we don't actually just get to go, oh yeah, I'm here, I'm doing this, and I'm feeling, I'm okay, and everything else will carry on moving. I'm okay.
I think it's so good what you said, and I love the what you shared about the trees. I love trees too. I have to say, I think there is so much beauty around us, and it's wonderful when you have this ability to see it. And another point, you said, yes, to get out of your head. I don't know whether you heard this saying, if you are too much in your head, you are dead. I think that's so true, because if you really are just spending so much time in your head, I know what you're doing. You're overthinking, you're second guessing, you're like, there's just constant looping of 60,000 thoughts. That's how many we think a day. And I guarantee most of them are rubbish.
Yes.
And it's not, and that's why whatever you can do to get back into your body, be it through, I don't know, watch your breath, or go outside, look at the trees, or like when I walk in the Corniche, it's the sea and the sea breeze and just the wind on my skin and the sunshine. Just really try to get sensory. What do you feel? Like, what do I to get from here back into your body, relax, and then this is the anchor. This is the anchoring part for me, because then you can deal with any situation from a place of responding once again and not reacting, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a really good tactic, just to, wherever you are, you don't even have to be outside really, do you? But to either notice what you can hear, what you can see, what you can smell, what you can feel. If you can go through any of those sensory moments and just become aware of your breath, is will make a massive difference if you can just do that for 30 seconds to a minute. And that's something that I also like to do when I'm traveling as well. So if I'm traveling, I find, especially when you're staying in someone else's home and your grounding and your anchor points are a bit all over the place, I kind of say, right, this is I call it a low capacity week, as in I don't have all of the time and energy for myself as I would do in maybe a normal week. If I have a low capacity week, what's my minimum that I need to do to make sure that I'm feeling okay? So that can literally just be, I'm not going to get out of bed for an extra 30 seconds and I'm just going to breathe, or I'm just going to, like you say, do your affirmations, or I just need 10 minutes for peace or time on my own, or instead of exercising 3 or 4 times a week, if I can do it once, that would be, I've ticked it off. And I think if we can keep saying, I'm doing this or this or this or this, rather than the ands, which our to-do lists tend to be, I need to do everything for me to feel great by the end of the day.
Yes,
if we can get some ors into that list, especially when you're traveling and things are very hectic, that can really help just to change the definitions of success for you during that busy time. And that can really help us just bring us back to ourselves and feel anchored during summer.
And I think I love that, Emma. I actually have one more tip. I thought, because when you said is how, just a little tip, on how to choose, maybe, because if there are still so many
yes. Yeah, there's lots of
how do I
ors.
do that? I think often we tend to say, like, I have to do this, or I need to do that, I should, I need, I must, I have. But if you reframe it and say, I choose to, Right. It gives you huge power. Like, really, that's how you take your power back. I choose to do this now. And then if you really replace these shoulds and needs, with I choose, maybe think, I actually don't choose to do that. I no
Yes.
longer cross out a big or.
Yes.
That one too. I choose not to. Thank you.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah, and I think that's really good. I think we have to be aware of the rules that we're imposing on ourselves and getting to choose what we do want to do and what we don't want to do, which is incredible. I'm very cautious of our time, and I feel like we could talk forever and ever, Anna. If we were going to If I was going to I'm going to answer my question. Sorry. If I was going to challenge anybody to do something over the summer, it would be this one thing. Just to kind of think about what is your minimum thing that you can do during this very busy, hectic, transitional time to just give yourself a little bit of grounding. Really take the time to put the plan into place. Be flexible with the plan, because it doesn't have to happen at Monday at 9 a.m. every single week. But at some point in your week, as long as you know you're going to make the time for it, I think that would be my one challenge. And I'd love to hear if anyone has decided what they want to do and how they get on with that. Do you have any other little challenges or anything you'd like to give our audience?
I think that's a great idea, brilliant. But I would elaborate a bit, because I think before you get there, to this challenge. So I love people to do that. First, they need to sit down. Everyone, please sit down and decide and think and really feel. Go inside. What do you actually want? What do you want? Because if you cannot answer this question, there is no way you can decide low capacity, high capacity. There is nothing. Because you really need to first find out what does actually bring me joy, what would make me feel anchored and more at ease. So work that out, and once you have, do what Emma said. Tell us.
And tell us, we'd love to hear. And really just good luck with this summer season. I know this will be coming out in July, so we'll be right in the thick of summer season. So good luck, everybody, and we're looking forward to speaking to you next time. If you like this episode, please do share with a friend, subscribe, rate it. Anna, do you want to tell everyone where we can find you?
Yes. First of all, yes. Enjoy your summer holidays. Stay safe travels, and you can find us on. I can tell you can find me on Not Just a Spouse on Instagram, LinkedIn, Anna Skoro Bogatova, and my website notjustaspouse.com, and you can find Emma and the Zest to Life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
On Instagram, and where else am I?
You can email me. My email will be in the show notes too.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anna. It's been a joy as always.
As always.
Yes. Have a great summer, everybody. See you very soon.
Bye, everyone.